let's get back on to learn a little bit more about you, Vince. Not everybody knows who you are, although you're already climbing the ranks for not being in the UFC. Some of the bigger numbers on the Instagram on the team, and you've had a lot of notoriety because of all the little things that you're doing all the time, from your surprise weddings to the head trauma to your pop, who is a character in his own right. Mr. Vince Murdock Sr., born on the same day, stolen your identity at times, been your biggest cheerleader and your biggest...
If you asked him, I stole his birthday, and his beer money is what he used to say.
Beer money?
Yeah. He's like, I should have pulled out.
Without bashing on your dad too much, you came down here as a 20-year-old kid, and I've got to learn a lot about you throughout the years, and just basically come from a family that was broken, but obviously there's a lot of love there, but just dysfunctional in some ways, in a lot of ways, especially with your dad in and out of prison and some of the things that he put you through mentally. Then you have your mom, who's a sweetheart, who's had your back, but things haven't been perfect. What brought you to the team? Obviously, we can go back and when that genesis was, but you came out here as a Train with Tam guy in 2012, I think. Right after the tough 2011 with me against Dominic Cruz, you're one of Darren Cruikshank's good buddies and one of his understudies, and we love Darren. He was one of my top fighters when I coached on that season, and he's got such a great personality, and he's had such an impact on your life.
He's actually fighting the 29th as well.
Yeah, he is. If you guys don't know Darren Crankshaft, look that guy up. He's like a human highlight reel, and he throws
heaters.
He throws heaters, and he throws caution to the wind, and makes nasty, crazy fights. But you were someone that kind of got saved by sports. And after Darren came down here, you decided to come down and check us out, and decided to stay. What was the reasoning behind that?
I never really had any attachment to anything, so. I had a girlfriend that I was with. And
yeah.
Ooh, and
that was a doozy, man. I had to give some counseling on that scenario.
For sure, yeah. So I never had any real attachment. The closest thing that I had to someone that I really cared about was Darren at that time. And I remember thinking he was put into a position to be almost like this father figure when he was only 25. So not that he even knew. He was just doing whatever Darren does, which is when we were coming up. And
he's a great father figure because he's got a great father figure.
That's true.
His dad is the
real Kung Fu Panda, man.
The real Kung Fu Panda, man. I got to spend about an hour learning a bunch of hand traps with him.
And pressure points.
And whatnot. But, yeah, go on.
But, so when I visited, the only thing prior to that was Darren taking me in for everything. I lived in his basement with he had it wasn't a ferret, chinchilla. This thing that you couldn't get wet. It was just in a cage in his basement. And I remember sleeping with it. And just that was, you know what I mean? It was, he tried to get me to go to college, all these things. So he was the closest thing that I had to someone that I thought that, I just knew that was the only structure I had in my life. And if I wanted my life to be normal, I needed to hang out with this guy, which is now that I think about it, the furthest fucking thing from normal.
That's a great message for other people out there, and I talk about that in my book too. Is basically, look, there are you had some people that loved you but don't know what the hell they're doing. Yeah. Like your father, he didn't know his ash from the hole in the wall when it comes from being a father, and I only know that because I've been here when I've seen messages and things, this and that. And I love the guy for what he is, but at the end of the day, what you do with your kids matters. Yeah. And he was not, studied up, and it wasn't he was rough around the edges and kind of a mess. So, you don't have to cut people out of your life, but you minimize their impact on you.
That's probably one of the biggest things I've kind of learned to do is that I realize that my father is not somebody that, I can rely on as a father, but he's not someone I want to cut out. You know what I mean? He's still my father, and I still love the guy. He loves me. That's the biggest thing. And I think, he grew up in a time that was difficult for him. And not that makes any of his things an excuse or whatever, but you know what I mean? He didn't give it the old college try, I guess. Yeah. You know what I mean? He was It is what it is, and I don't hold any bad blood, but I definitely grew up different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I grew up. Man, we moved. I can't even like talk about moving. I swear, I moved. I lived in every apartment in Waterford and Pontiac and all sorts of neighborhoods. My growing up, mattresses on the ground, like never having, just all sorts of things.
You're
It was
saying
weird.
cardboard walls?
Yeah. My dad used to make. We didn't have like rooms in our house. It would be like a 1 bedroom, so we'd turn it in and we would put up plywood and he'd make me my own room. And it was, to me at the time, I was young enough to where I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. It's like a fort. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had sheets for walls and it was so weird because I'd be like, Mom, I want to live with Dad, and she could never like comprehend like, why the do you want to live with him? But he'd be giving me nudie mags and stuff, and I had Playboy subscriptions, and my dad would put them in my name. Well, we had the same name, but you know what I mean. So when they came, they were for me, and those are some of the things about my dad that like were different that I thought were just the freedom part.
Well, this happens a lot, and this is I was a human development major in college, and so I studied this a lot. It's never the fact that, I mean, instinctually animals are going to take care of their the next generation. Like that's why there's more animals. There's more humans and more animals. And then people want the best for their kid. Like there's no one happier when you have success than your dad, but there's also someone who can't pull punches when you're having a hard time like your dad.
Literally, man.
Like literally.
It's like a truck.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that more people aren't. And now being a father myself, I'm sitting here thinking like, and I have a great dad and a great mom, and so it's like, the fact that you've had so much success on top of all the things that have been hard for you is pretty awesome. But it's a testament to somebody in your environment showing you love, because love goes a long ways. Even though the intent isn't right, even though the way you're dealing with stuff isn't right,
I think that's a lot of too the way I grew up. It's like I don't necessarily know how to deal with things, and that's why I I don't have very much family like to go to for these things, and so I would reach out to guys like you or Darren and stuff like that. But I mean, I think a lot of fighters and a lot of people have some sort of past, and we could like dig into mine all day. It could last forever.
Yeah,
but
right.
I think ultimately it just comes down to is, I found an outlet in fighting that saved me from the direction that I was going to, and it was unbeknownst to me at the time. I had no idea that this would be a directional thing for me. I just found it as a thing that I knew. I was coming off my third MIP. I just got
that's
out
a
of
minor in possession, y'all.
I just got through. Just got out of probation. I just got out of like AA meetings and classes. I just got out of the program. They're tossing my bedroom and stuff, looking for nothing. But so like all that was just, I used it as a way and to almost escape. But when I met Darren, he was like he was just, I don't know, man.
He was focused and had goals.
Yeah. I wouldn't say he's pure, but like he's like a genuine. He knew what was right. He knew how to lead. He knew how to, you know what I mean, like be a good friend when you need it. He wanted me to succeed, and I could really see that. And he was just one of the greatest people I've known at that time. So when he went out to the Ultimate Fighter and was like, Uriah, is invited us out to, come
some cross training.
Black lung.
Yeah.
But so he invited us out to Team Alpha Male, and I remember like getting ready for that trip because before this time I'd only been to Las Vegas. That's the first time I was ever on a plane. It's the first time I left the state. Like it was like a really big deal for me to go. I was working at a lumberyard at the time, so I remember when I did that, this was like a huge deal for me. I had to ask for time off work, and I've never done anything like that before. So when this trip was coming up, I was like, man, another opportunity to go somewhere. And it was really hard to get Darren to leave for a while. Like he kept postponing the trip. One, because I think he loves being around his dad and all his toys and shit.
Yeah.
But when I finally convinced him, we took a road trip out there. I think I drove the entire way. Darren was cool with it. I remember the whole time, just sat in the back with the air on. But when we came out, I remember when I was like the training and just the atmosphere was like different than Michigan. And like I said, like what I had came from was
Where do you come from?
where I've come from was a lot of bouncing around. Before I had met Darren, I was actually living in a gym, a very like old one, and I was a window cleaner. I was the squeegee guy, and I was living in there. And so like when I came out here, it's snowing over here, and it's sunshine and rainbow, or not rainbows, but it's sunshine out
Yeah,
here.
quite a lot more rainbows here in
Francisco,
California and than Michigan.
Yeah,
at least out in the open.
I remember like obviously the practices were good, and Darren was always really good at like running a great practice. But I think what stood out to me the most was the camaraderie between the team, and how tight knit the guys were. Darren was always a little bit bigger than me, and everybody on the team was more my size. And I started taking things like that.
I think probably deep down, now knowing you a lot more, also it was kind of like a fresh restart,
Yeah. Like I said, I had no ties anywhere.
Yeah.
It wasn't hard for me to want to leave anywhere.
Yeah, no
I was
ties.
just
You're 20 years old. You're going to go to California. It's like, you know what you have there. Like, sure, you have support, but this is like a fresh, like, Vince gets to do his own thing kind of deal.
Yeah.
And then you also had kind of the blessing of Darren, who, was singing the praises of our team and everything else. So it was kind of like, okay, almost like a green light and sign.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't have done it without his blessing, and I don't think he was going to tell me no regardless. I think it might have hurt him a little bit that I left, but ultimately, I mean, we're still great friends today, and he's never said anything to me about it. But
yeah, I'm friends with Darren. I love that guy.
But yeah, I think what stood out the most was really just the way the team worked with like the other guys on the team, and what we did outside the team, I guess, really stood out. We were going to Crepeville. We were hanging out. We would do things on the weekend, stuff that I wasn't used to, and is sadly didn't grow up with. You know what I mean? And I really relied on a lot of those things to.
So that was 2012.
Yeah,
and
worked Tommy's wedding.
Yeah, Tommy's wedding. Yeah,
that was fun.
Yeah, so yeah, that was crazy. 2012 was when they got married. That's crazy. So.
Kofor.
So that was 2012. You decided to move down here, and since then, it's been a long journey. Yeah, hi, baby.
Callie.
Hi. I'm right here. So, that's my baby knows my name. Hi, baby. So, probably the biggest thing with our team, and especially at the time, was me kind of create a healthy environment for a lot of guys that come from a background that isn't necessarily healthy or functional. And that means support when things are good and support when things are bad. And when people are messing up, you call them out on it. And if people are being cancers on the team, you talk to them about it. And if people can't make it work, then they got to go, and et cetera, et cetera. And so that's one thing that has always been nice about our team, and it's changed, and people come and go, et cetera. But that core leadership has always been there.
And I saw that a lot when I first came out. Like, I wasn't the only guy that wasn't from there. Like, nobody was from there. Unithon from Sweden was there. Kofor came at the same time. Like, nobody was really like from Sacramento. It was pretty amazing to see like this little makeshift family of people that were from different places,
Yeah. And on top of that, the program has continued to do the same thing, but it's just different now. Like, the gym has gotten bigger. The people are coming from all across the world. A lot more established guys will show up, and at that time it was like, we had the block going. The block was, and you can check out on this YouTube channel, if you go back through some of the archives, you can see some of the antics from the block were hilarious. Catching possums with young Chad Mendez and Master Tong back in the day, and some of the crazy stuff we used to do. And we had all these different houses that basically helped build the team. But
I ended up running the
that's what I was going to get
program.
into. So Vince came in as first a Chain with Tam guy, and next thing you know, he's running the whole program. He was there hosting the new people.
Dave was over it for a while, handed it off to me.
We have Dave Rowan, who used to run it, and so we had like a makeshift apartment that had a bunch of beds in there. And Vince has always been a hustler, by the way. He always finds a way to make ends meet.
That's for sure.
And so he ended up being the full-time, welcome committee and taxi cab and mitigating damage.
The amount of people
with so many people is like, we've had hundreds of people come through the Chain with Tan program.
Teru, the 4 Japanese guys. I mean,
Taruto, Aishihara, Cody Garbrandt,
Mike
Paige
Malott.
Van Zant, Mike Malott. Lance the Party Palmer, Nad Naramini.
So many guys.
The list goes on and on.
It really does.
And so Vince was not only enjoying being part of the team, but also became like one big part of the team. And what we've done traditionally is had end of the year banquets. And Vince, we call him Mush because he's all mushy and all, always, doing the sad story and appreciative and this and that. So he had the Mush Award.
Basically stands for biggest sweetheart.
For biggest sweetheart on the team, but also known to get a little overweight in the off season from 135-pound standpoint
to 190.
190 pounds.
I don't know.
But so it's turned out to be an awesome part of the team. But now, fast forward to you finally getting your opportunity.
Yeah. Bunch of tough times a record. In between, like India and some bad calls.
Yeah, talk about India a little bit, actually.
So I was just offered an opportunity to go out there that I thought was going to be
fun, go travel the world.
Yeah. And it just wasn't what I experienced. I think it was the first time I experienced what, corruption was, firsthand. I just didn't, you wouldn't have seen what, the stuff that they did there was so crooked, you couldn't have gotten away with it.
So Vince is in kind of limbo where he's gotten himself to a great record, then he has a small setback, and that, becomes a time to rebuild to get him set to again be presented to the UFC, and has to jockey up a couple wins, and he gets this opportunity to go to India for this MTV India super fight tournament, and they basically have rich Indian folks that are buying teams, and whoever's paying the most money, their team gets to win. But the fighters don't know this.
Yeah.
And so we sent a couple of guys out there, Anthony Avila and Vince, and I'm sitting here.
Your eyes, lock your door.
2 or 3 in the morning. I'm getting text messages from Vince about I'm scared. There's people coming in, and I think they're trying to do this to me and that to me. And meanwhile, he's getting bad calls. He's fighting guys, and they're they just stop the fight and give it to the other guy, and he's what the heck?
Right in the middle of the fight.
And right in the middle of a fight. So meanwhile, Vince is trying to build his career, but he's not even playing on a real playing field. This is just they're deciding who wins, and so it's a big deal to him. And he had to come back. We had to send letters to the.
We had to. It was getting a flight home was not even easy either. So that was
he almost got kidnapped. I was saying he was going to get put in sex trade. I mean,
no, did very well.
He'd done all right over there. But I'm Vince, bro, they're casing you for sex trade, bro. But at the end of the day, we finally got those off your record. Then Vince gets a call to fight in the UFC, short notice. He's so excited, can barely speak. He's getting his weight down, this and that, goes out to the event, and he's days away from competing and weighing in and everything, and they do the medicals, and it turns out he has some sort of head issue. And he's head issue? Whatever. He's been fine this whole time. And so fill us in on what that was all about.
So literally the day before I weighed in, I was just getting ready to start my cut, the first big cut, and I had to go in and review my CT scan or the head scan with the doctor, and first he shakes my hand. He's oh, this could be easy, don't worry. And then we pull up my test on the screen, and he's just taken back, busts off his chair, looks at me, looks at the screen. He's I don't know what to tell you. This is a bad scan. He shoots me over to the emergency room to get another emergency scan. And I was yeah, for sure. That's obviously not mine. Because he looked at me and thought, he was literally you would be dead, basically.
From based on the brain scan, he's you should be dead right now.
You should be dead. He's there's no way, that or a major stroke or something. Anyway, so I go take the scan, comes back, looks just as bad as the first one. And I was just like, okay, well maybe this is new or recent, and I don't know. For a long time, I had like a hard time kind of comprehending what it was because I had felt
It's
fine.
another
to
call I
this
get
degree.
in the out of nowhere.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm just from me.
yeah,
Many of those calls, but
yeah.
yeah. So it was interesting because I didn't know what it meant, and they were like throwing like high grade stenosis or this disease, and I didn't know what it meant or what it was. So UFC is like, well, it's not over. You know, we'll come home. We'll look. Our doctors will look at it, and then we'll see. So I was like, okay. Time goes by, nothing. I go see a few
But
doctors.
you don't get the fight. Guy gets called off.
Literally, yeah.
Vince
I was,
is
like,
is
there.
like, we're doing all this promo. Vince is about to fight. Tuss is getting the engines roaring. For
Yeah,
the
it was a
damn
day away from the
Instagram.
fight.
And then it's like, hey, Vince, his brain's jacked up. He can't fight. And we're like, what?
Yeah.
So Vince comes back, and turns out he has a super, super rare disease that's it's even rarer for someone of his age and culture and his genetic background to get it. It's called moyamoya, and it's the hardening. What is it? The hardening of the
It's the closing, like, so basically on
the
the left
blood that feeds your brain.
Yeah, it closes on itself. It grows closed, like the walls. They're like lumen walls, I think, is what it's called. And so there's nothing in there. A lot of people think that like there's a blockage, and maybe it's blocked to a degree, but it's blocked by its own self, meaning like that the walls just grow closed. So there's nothing in there in a sense. It just grew closed. And by the time they found it, it was 100% occluded, which is why they were so like.
Yeah, they're like, you
Well,
should
what
have
the
already
fuck?
had a
Yeah.
stroke by now.
And I do have some questionable, spots on my brain, but other than that, they like couldn't figure out how I've made it this far. They're like, surely
Yeah.
there's been some sort of incident in your life.
So what do? We launched a big campaign. Vince
That's it.
Murdock,
Save my brain.
half a brain with a full heart.
Well,
Let's
at
get him
first
back to surgery.
First, we couldn't figure out where to go. You came up with Stanford,
Yeah.
and then like they wanted me to go to this. I won't say the hospital, but the hospital out here was like, oh yeah, we got a guy that can do it. I looked him up. He's a spine specialist, and I was like, well, when have you done this procedure? And he's like, never.
Yeah.
I was like, oh okay.
So I have a connection through my EO group. EO is entrepreneurial organization, and one of the pieces that we have is we have access to all these best doctors. And so I did some research and found the best doctor at Stanford.
Happened
Vince,
to be like luckily pretty close to
yeah, very close to us, and he was like the best in the world. And so then we had to find out how we're going to get that thing funded. We started a big campaign. We had events to raise funds.
Still owe a ton of money, so if anybody wants to donate.
Well, you're going to make it back yourself
That's
now,
true.
starting November
Yeah.
4th. But we did a series of events all throughout Sacramento. We had ourselves at Ultimate Fitness, and we had Title Boxing, we had Vibe Health Bar, and all sorts of parts of our community. What's the clothing? Until you drop,
Till you collapse. Yeah, absolutely.
all these different people within our community that came together to help get awareness,
Origami.
and we started a GoFundMe account, and Vince eventually got his life. They're basically saying, hey, you're going to die here pretty soon.
They said that I would have, if I had not, so exercising saved my life. And then if I had stopped exercising, which also put me at risk, was exercising, so I stopped. They said I would have stroked, and if I did not die, I would suffer the consequences of a major stroke before my next birthday.
Right.
So this was
Major
last
consequences
year.
mean-
My birthday was in like 4 months.
Yeah, it was like,
Literally, it could happen at any moment. They were
Right.
like, we're just waiting for me to stroke, and
Yeah.
which was wild. And it was hard for me to comprehend at the time. I didn't really
Gay.
think about it.
I was giving him a lot of crap for getting tired during our wrestling
That is true.
interchanges.
For
So
8 years.
for 8 years, yeah, I'm like, Vince, what are you getting tired for, man?
So keep that in mind. Also, I forgot to say, yeah, we just found this out, but that means I had fought in my entire career with this disease.
Half
I
a
was
brain.
born with half a brain. All right. So come November 4th, you know what I mean. We'll be looking at a full brain.
Yeah, so that was a hard time. It was rough because we had no idea what was going on. We're just getting a crazy prognosis. Vince's whole dream of fighting the UFC came to an abrupt stop the day before he's going to fight. Then it becomes not about the fight. Now it becomes a fight for his life. how we're going to raise the funds to get the
Yeah.
best doctor. Then we get that thing done. And then the question becomes, will Vince ever fight again?
Yeah, I also had to move the surgery date up too. So that was the other thing. It was like when I found out the disease itself, I had to have surgery. Like that was short notice. I always talk about it being a fight, and it's like it's so funny. It's not funny, but my surgery date was November 13th. Like my fight date is November 4th. This time last year, I was like short notice preparing for brain surgery.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So a lot of things can happen in a year, which is really wild to me. But you know what I mean? This time last year, I was like, it was 3 weeks like when I announced that I had the disease because I didn't know how to really tell anybody to begin with. It felt weird saying that I had this. Which, by the way, I still have this problem. It didn't go away.
Didn't go away.
I have
just
a
did a temporary
procedure,
fix.
And then now, so I got the finally a second shot. I'm not unfortunate. People are like, oh man, well it's not UFC, but at the same time, like the ultimate goal was just to compete again, and I can't put a price or how much it means to me to be able to just lace up the gloves.
You're thinking
one
about
more
being on the
time.
Contender Series versus
Yeah.
you already had a contract.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then in that time also, Vince had a surprise wedding.
Yep.
and married the love of his life, who's he's punching way
Throw
out of
that
his
up
weight
there.
class like a bunch of us little short guys, But that was a pretty awesome thing to have
married
happen.
me.
Yeah, I was there, help
The vows.
help
or
with the
whatever.
vows and the ceremony.
Yeah.
And a lot of people contributed to that too. So it's been an eventful
Year.
time, and it's culminating in November 4th with Vince letting the past go. His pops, is going to be celebrating wherever he is.
Yeah.
And
OCJ.
yeah, OCJ.
Oakland County Jail.
Yeah, Oakland County Jail, and making everyone in Michigan proud. He took a long journey from 2012 to 2020 to make this dream happen. He overcame his upbringing, his travel from Michigan to California, to being in one of the best rooms in the world and having to grind for 8 years to be a guy that gets to that big show with the UFC, overcoming brain surgery, and now it's going to happen. So I hope this is inspiring for some people out there, and I hope, Vince, you're not just going to take the opportunity, you're going to seize the opportunity, because there's a difference. Don't be living in the moment, you're going to seize the moment, right? Yeah. And everyone at home, tune in to check out this guy do his thing. We'll be there, and hopefully. Yeah, you know much about this opponent. We looked at him a little bit. What do you think? He's 5'11".
He's just tall. He shows up to fight. There's not
Tell
much
us
to
the name
know
again.
about him. Luis Saldana.
We sold in 5'11". He's a tough fight.
Yeah.
They're not giving you a slouch, so you're gonna go have to earn it again. Another battle to
I
make
feel like
your
my
dreams
whole
come
life
true.
it really has just been kind of fighting like the adversity, and it's just one more for me. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, I'd love to say that was just you, but that's the world, baby. We're in a tough place, and life does not get easier. But we're gonna have fun with it. So thanks, Vince, for being here. Hope you guys like the talk on Khabib and Justin. I can't wait for that fight. Both these guys are savages, warriors, and I'm a fan of both the guys. And stay tuned for Mr. Murdock. That's
November
CaliCast.
4th.
Check us out later.